Hello! Now I am recording with this because, for some reasons, but it's on the move. I've been discussing with some people that think that you can teach languages. Let's get things straight. I say you cannot teach languages, and I mean you cannot teach the way we always think about teaching this, using your language, the language that you know and the other person knows, and transmitting a series of notions, knowledge, to know. When we use the word know in the languages I know, in this way we use another I know that I can speak. In this way, we can perfectly use the verb know. But usually we tend to think about somebody explaining things and to somebody else. When we know that that's not the way we acquired our first language. So there is always the objection, okay, you're right, but that it was the first language. And obviously you cannot teach the first language through another language because that's his or her first language. So you're in a way bound to use the target language. Okay. Second thing, children or babies are not able to think, rationalize, and practice the way adults do. And babies don't have an attention span like adults, in spite of the fact with the internet, YouTube, and everything, this is going to go back to our attention span tend to be shorter, but that's another subject matter. Anyway, so my point is, yes, but that doesn't necessarily mean that we cannot learn the way babies do, just because baby cannot learn the way adults do, if you catch my drift. So let's start from the viewpoint that we should take example from what works. There's no baby, unless it has some mental thing, but let's say there's no normal baby that cannot learn. I use it's easier than his, her every time. It's first language. Like there's no normal person who cannot learn how to drive. And if we think that most of our learning happens through driving. Take an example from the person beside you. The person shows you, and we don't think about rules when we drive. Just when we see signposts, and it's most of the time automatic because you have to think when you drive, it's too late. The same goes for language. The moment you have to think, it's too late. And do not confuse written language with spoken language. In a history of every single person and a history of humanity, except for Esperanto, that is a man-made language, but for the most part, even in the mind of the founder of Esperanto, I think it was first in sound, and then he decided how to write those sounds. Anyway, every time we oh god damn it, I have to silence some things. Every time we learn first the spoken language, but when it comes to another language, we decide to do the other way around, and that's so, I would say, wrong, ineffective. So it's quite, at the beginning, it takes more doing to find a way to teach a language without writing. We are so fixed on write it down, write it down, write it down. And it's, first of all, we don't write phonetically. Very few language, I'd say no language is 100% phonetical. Some languages are more phonetical, for example, Italian, Turkish. Greek is very strange, is phonetical when you read, but not phonetical when you write. And that sounds like why. It's like this. Second thing is that if we have to write a language and just write, we have our time to think, we can correct our spelling, we can check on the internet, and it would work if our goal is just to read and write. Oh, I want to learn English to find things on the web, I want to learn things to chat, writing, I want to read books, simple books, and it can work like this. Even with the other method, you can get both. But in time, you learn how to understand, then you learn how to speak, then you learn how to write, and then you learn to read, and then you learn how to write in the long term. But if you just want that, it's like you paying more for this, less than the other thing. It costs less, but the other thing costs a little more, but you get double as much quality. So my point is, many people work teaching languages in their traditional way, in spite of the fact there's some books have been more activity-based, like Headway and all these books. Have been doing this for years, but in classrooms there's a teacher, and even this is like, it's always proposed as an activity based on things that maybe the classroom is not interested, and is a lot based on the ability of it's like jazz. You have a music, it's not written 100%, and there's interpretation of the jazzman. If you're not a jazzman, you can have a song, you will never play jazz. You can have this that is supposed to be taught in a more modern way, but if your approach is not modern, you will end up using that material that this is geared towards a more activity-based, so listening, natural approach, and will end up being worse because of a material that is supposed to be taught in a modern way and use a traditional way. So at that point, I would say use the traditional material if your approach is traditional. It makes sense to me. So the worst thing scenario is a teacher who has a traditional approach and use more modern material. Many times, even students are divided in two sectors. There are two types of students. Those who thinks that learning is just speaking random, which is not the case. You don't speak random to a baby. You don't put a baby on the table while two adults are speaking about philosophy, science, culture, or whatever. The baby is going to pick up very little usable language for him or for her. But you don't teach baby declinations, conjugations, this is the verb, this is the object, speak. No, there is something in the middle. That is, you're in a way teaching, but you're teaching like you're not teaching the traditional way. You're just given the right food for the mind. Okay? Like the baby drinks milk, you give milk to a baby. Language milk. Okay? You don't give steak, pasta, pizza, ice cream, or cornflakes. No, you give the right food. And at a certain point, you wean the baby. Not win, wean the baby. The same goes for languages. But our mentality, people's mentality, is, oh, there is a traditional boring, dry approach, and there is a I just speak approach. Doesn't work. The just speak and listening can work in a way when you are constantly exposed to the language in a situation where you need to learn it and you gladly want to learn it. Because if you are in a situation where you feel the foreign language as something foreign imposed to you, brain is going to close up your mind. You know, everything we did at school sounds boring, and maybe we discovered after decades, oh, I was studying ancient Greek and it's actually fun, it's full of strange, difficult things, and that's what I like it. Find what is difficult a challenge, and challenges are interesting. Movies, story lines are based on hardship, difficulties, challenges, problems. Everything that is 100% easy, it's not interesting at all. So let's say, I'm learning Turkish. Okay, it's difficult. I've been learning for 2 months. I seem not to be able to speak it and to understand 2-3 seconds in a row, which is not without getting lost. Let's say 10 seconds, okay, not 2-3 seconds. And let's say no, that's a challenge. It takes time, and I'm going slowly. I know I am going slowly. I'm progressing at a slow pace. And everything, you should speed up the learning, you should speed up learning. Remember, and we say that in Italian, presto bene non vanno insieme. You can do the most that you can do, but some things need time. You need to be patient, you need to be consistent, perseverance. You need to have perseverance. You don't have to feel like you're not adequate, you're not up to the task. It takes time. It's like learning a musical instrument. If you lay the grounds the right way, that means slowly but steadily. Remember, there comes a point when all this all this steady work you've been doing, at a certain point, you will feel the difference. One day you wake up and all this basic language that was difficult to you, it's going to be easy. You can speak in a simple way about mostly everything. People understand you, and you will understand people when they speak. And obviously they will speak to you like you are a 3-year-old child. And remember, 3-year-old child already has a grasp of the structure of the grammar, pattern, and sounds. Doesn't have a broad vocabulary, and now and then can make mistakes, but you're perfectly people don't feel you like a foreigner. You feel you can just learning, but what you say, it sounds good. It doesn't sound like a real. You say simple things without stuttering, without speaking in like I'm doing now. I'm looking for the right expression in English. Is I'm like you're not interrupting yourself every 2 seconds to recharge. You know, like in a computer, reload your things. And sometimes I do that because I want to say things the right way. So it's good sometimes to stop and look up in a dictionary when you're on a high level, because you already know the language, and there must be a reason why dictionaries exist. But generally speaking, because obviously the more you make headway, the more you are raising the bar, okay, and you will end up having other things to learn. You don't come to you don't stop on a plateau. Yes, that's something that happens. Then you decide, I'm perfectly good being on this level, and I want to learn another language, or I want to progress and being on a native level on this language. I've been speaking English and Italian, and I was perfectly alright with that. Then I resumed learning modern Greek, but in a way it was already in my mind. And then and I reacquired modern Greek through watching. I was not really learning conjugations and declinations, no. But learning Turkish is a real challenge, because it's different. The structure of the language is not Indo-European. Accent and pronunciation is not very difficult, but every word, most words, like 95% of the words are unfamiliar to me. Or there are some words that are the same in Greek, or there are some international words like autobus, fabrica, avocat, music. Okay, but generally speaking, for example, the months, there are 3 or 4 months that are similar to Italian and Greek, and the other one are different. The days of the week are different, or they are different also in Greek, but a lot of words we already know in Greek because, you know, problem, system, there are a lot of Greek words of Greek origin. Turkish, not so much. If you spoke Arabic or Farsi, Persian, you would have a lot of common words. We have some common words that actually are in modern Greek. Most of them come from Turkish to Greek. There are some Greek words that enter Turkish, but for the most time, it's the other way around. And I decided not to be obsessed, not to let it go. I devote an average 1 hour per day to watching Turkish videos that I go over until all these sentences settles in my mind, but always having the right pronunciation. I start from speaking, and then I watch some videos where they go over grammar, but always tend to focus on the way he speaks. I'd rather have some videos where there is no English at all,